What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. Yes, I am sick. Thank you for asking. Sick of having winning weeks. It's the best bet show. Joining me to break down Week 18, the final week of the regular season. My goodness gracious. Hard to believe we're already here at the finish line for the regular season. Joining me to talk about best bets for this week, Pete Prisco and RJ White. What's up, fellas?
What's up, boys?
Good news out of Buffalo. I guess that was Cincinnati technically, but related to the Buffalo and Cincinnati game from Monday night, DeMar Hamlin apparently improving from a medical standpoint. Reportedly been like gripping, been like squeezing, gripping hands.
Kyer Elam said he's awake.
Yeah, he's awake. I mean, like really great news. I think the family said that neurologically they're hopeful. I don't want to put word, but I think there's optimism about the neurological standpoint and still some concern about some possible lung damage. But all in all, certainly much better news over the past couple of weeks. We don't know yet whether they're going to play the game. It does sound like it's trending towards they're not going to play the game. And then what they're going to do about the playoffs, which is it's crazy. It's like some of the scenarios being thrown out there. And I think Mike Florio of Pro Football Talks has been the primary rabble rouser or whatever, or rumor monger about the various playoff. So I mean, they're going to add an eighth team in the AFC. Like, what are we doing here? It's crazy. What's the weirdest one you've heard, Pete?
Well, that's not weird. I think the sanest one is just go by your winning percentage, and then if any of those three teams play in a championship game, do it at a neutral site.
And just to clarify, I wanted to say real quick, the Hamlin news, everybody watching on YouTube live that's where we are right now. People listening to the podcast tomorrow, Friday, tomorrow for us, we might have some different news. We don't know at this point.
Yeah, it's this Thursday at 1 o'clock when
Thursday at 1 o'clock. Yeah, everything is trending positively based on what we heard this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why not play them? Okay, if it's the Bengals and the Bills in the title game, you could play that in a neutral site. If it's in Indianapolis, could be the neutral site for the Bengals and the Chiefs, or Indianapolis could be St. Louis could be the neutral site. Somewhere you could find a way to play them on a neutral site, because if you want to take that away from it, there's no way you can play that game and make it fair to the loser of that game. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Because even if you moved them out a week and that
you sound like a robot right now.
I do.
Yeah, pop out and come back in.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for anyone if you play the game. So it's just hard to determine what you do at this point. It's not really fair. Is kind of like for someone, it's not going to be fair whatever you do, even if you don't play the game. So it's just something you have to. What's the best way to handle this moving forward, and to make it as equal as possible?
I kind of like the idea of play the game next week. Like you play week 18. Play week 18 and see how things pan out, and then make a decision about what you want to do with the Bengals game. Play it after week 18 if it looks like it would be necessary to determine the standings, and then do NFC wildcard plus Bengals, and then AFC wildcard. NFC teams get a week off, and then you just re-rack the divisional round and skip the break between the championships and the Super Bowl. But I mean, there's no great solution here. It's going to be a. I don't know if it'd be an asterisk attached to it. I mean, certainly you have to explain like what the difference.
So the Super Bowl champ would have a week off. I mean, the NFC champ would have a week off before the Super Bowl.
No,
2 weeks.
No, they get their week off earlier
before the divisional rounds. Yeah,
they get the week off while the AFC is having its wild card game, because the wild card games for the AFC would be pushed back.
And then you would have both the AFC and NFC divisional rounds.
When we're supposed to play the championship round, we would have the division.
So
round.
You would be a wild card. Say you win your wild card game, then you get a bye week.
Correct.
Yes.
If you are in the NFC, yes.
And you would have a bye week before. I mean, there's no great solution. Like what happens if they expand the AFC playoff bracket to 8 teams and the 8th team wins the Super Bowl? Like you got some explaining.
That's stupid. That one's stupid.
Like you can't just add an 8th
winning
team.
Percentage. Winning percentage is much more rational than adding an 8th team.
Yeah, I'm just a little surprised, and we'll move on in a second. I'm just a little surprised that they don't want to. I'm surprised that, and I understand why the Bills and the Bengals don't want to play the game. I get that. I'm surprised the NFL doesn't. The NFL, I mean, look at 2020, man. Like they want you to play. They want to play every game. They want to play every game every year. And I'm just surprised that they're not trying to find a way to play this game.
Okay, but if don't know, like right now the Bengals, they're division winners if they don't play that game.
Right.
No matter what happens in the Ravens game, they
well,
win the
are you giving a
tie?
tie?
Don't you think before they play? Don't you think before they play that game that they should know that?
Right.
Absolutely.
You've got to make a determination before these weekend's games go off what you're doing. And I think JJ said he expects that to come no later than tomorrow. Tomorrow being Friday.
Because the Bengals can rest their players if they think that they're going to have to play in a wild card game and they've already won the division. Like if they're like, we're not playing the game, you guys both get a tie, I guess. Or are the Bengals going to win? Like, how's it work?
No.
Well, you don't play the game. You just don't award the tie. You're just doing it by win percentage, obviously, like you're saying. So it's just
right.
Well, two teams play a 16-game schedule. Everybody else.
Oh, but because the Bengals couldn't finish. Worst case, they could be 11-5, and the Ravens.
The only way for the Bengals to lose the division would have been for them to lose to the Bills, and then Ravens Bengals would have been for the division.
A no contest. The Bengals would still win the division because they have one less loss than the Ravens.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, like, in other words,
the Bengals' only loss of the whole thing would be the chance to have the number 1 seed, which was remote, anyways.
Correct. The Chiefs would have to lose. They had to beat
or the
Bills.
2 seed.
Yeah, the Chiefs have to
or the
lose.
2 seed. Yeah.
Okay.
They weren't getting the 1 seed.
Yeah.
You think? I mean, anything's possible, but so I think the only way to do it the right way is to do it by winning percentage, and then if you had any of those teams play each other in the championship game, put it on neutral field.
Okay.
I by the way, if Kansas and Buffalo play, I'm all for it being inside in Indianapolis. That would be a better game.
Because you don't want to cover it for HQ outside.
No, because I don't like games that are wrecked by the weather.
Wrecked by the weather. You sold softy. You old Lauderdale softy.
My solution to the whole thing is don't play the Bills-Bengals game. Have Chris Trapasso versus John Breach in a field goal off to decide who gets the one.
All right. I like that, but let's expand it just a little bit. Trapasso and Breach do the punt pass. It's the punt pass kick challenge. So you start on the goal line of a full 100-yard field. You punt the ball as far as you can. You don't get any rollout. Wherever the ball lands, you go there, and then you throw the ball as far as you can. And then you go to wherever the ball lands, no rollout, and then you have to kick a field goal from there. And like it would be because then we get to find out how far Breach can kick it. We get to how far Breach can throw it, and we get to watch both of them miss 55-yard field goals, maybe like 65-yard field goals.
And note that I nominated Trapasso for this instead of me because I want the Bills to win. So I do not want to be involved in this.
How did Breach's dad was an NFL kicker? How come he never learned how to do it?
Breach claims that he made. Oh, so you know that Breach claims that this is like the biggest lie he's ever told. And he's like, well, the newspapers were all destroyed. The articles were all destroyed. He was a Division III punter before he transferred to Miami of Ohio, and he claims that on a snap that went over his head, he ran around and grabbed the ball and then threw a 40-yard touchdown pass.
I threw a 55-yard touchdown pass.
Get out. Oh, okay. How far did it go in the air? What were the air yards?
Probably 35.
I don't
55.
But B,
how did you have that, Billy? Great job. My goodness.
Why didn't he kick? What's the matter with him? I've never asked him that. Why were you not? Your dad's a kicker. You think he would teach you how to kick?
I think he tried. He couldn't. He's not very good at it. It's the great shame of his life.
It really should be.
Oh no, it is. Like it is. Like I joked about it with him before, and he's like, "It is the great shame of my." I was like, "Oh my bad."
Trapasso's never kicked anywhere, right? What do you?
Right, if he lost that contest to Trapasso, it'd be humiliating.
Oh yeah.
All right, we got some football we got to talk about. Should probably get to it, huh?
A lot of games to cover, but a lot of uncertainty as we go in, more so than in any other week 18. So going to be a little bit light for me on the best bet side, just in that sense, not trying to sandbag a bit and hold my lead over Pete or anything.
How many best bets do you have, RJ?
I have 3.
There's No, there's no
there are other
real
picks I wanted to make, but I just couldn't because wanted to back the Lions. But how do you make them a best bet when they could be eliminated at 30 minutes before their game starts or 45 minutes before the game starts? So it's
25 minutes. Yeah, I think for instance, with when you're betting on this weekend, make sure I think there are a couple key things. Like one, and the Bills is a bad example because of their current circumstances. But we've seen in the past where even the Bills had a spot clinched, Sean McDermott was willing to go aggressively after a division opponent and snuff them out of the playoffs. Like they hung 50 on the Dolphins with Josh Allen playing some of the backups. Andy Reid loves to bench his guys if he's locked into a certain spot. So you need to be aware of the trends that coaches do. Be aware of certain milestones for contractual reasons for various players. There's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. Of course, playoff stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that whoever's got the most motivation to win is the best guarantee. But we look at this first game, Chiefs at the Raiders, Chiefs minus 9.5, a total of 52.5. The again, what we don't know what the deal is with the Bills and the Bengals yet. If Bills and Bengals is no contest, Pete, do the Chiefs win the 1 seed with a victory here? I clearly am not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
they're right. Yeah. So in other words, be careful with the Raiders here. That's what we're saying, right?
Yeah, I would be careful with the Raiders. I don't look when I look at this game. I think it's going to get a little loose. I don't think. I mean, 9.5 is a big number, but now there's tape on Jarrett Stidham. Everybody said, "Oh, look at Brady." Well, now there's tape on him, and guys like that. And they schemed up some really good stuff for him last week. I give him credit against a good defense, but I think that this game's going to get really loose. So I'm going to take the over 52.5 as a best bet.
Okay.
I am not afraid to take the Raiders. I'm taking a best bet on the Raiders plus 9.5. It's the same line as the San Francisco Vegas line last week, but now we know the Vegas offense has a pulse with Stidham. There is tape out there, but we've seen that it's not a complete disaster, and they did scheme up some stuff. Vegas's offense had 500 yards, 7.6 yards per play against the best defense in the NFL, and Stidham top 10 yards per attempt in that game. I mean, at some point, that has something to do with talent. Like, you're not going to have bad quarterbacks doing that against the best defense in the NFL. Kansas City's defense reverted back to struggling. They gave up 24 against Denver for the second time in 3-4 weeks, whatever. I think the back door is open here. If we need a cover on the Raiders late and they're down 14, we can get it. Vegas nearly won in Kansas City earlier in the season. I don't think motivation is a factor for the Raiders. I think they want to go out with a win. I mean, McDaniels might be coaching for his job. We just don't know with that situation, with how poorly they performed earlier in the year. And benching Derek Carr gave the rest of the team a reason to quit. They're like, we're not playing Carr, we're playing Stidham, but they showed up. So I think they'll be motivated here. I think they'll play well. I don't think the Chiefs have been playing well enough to be 9.5 point favorites on the road against a solid divisional team.
Yeah, Chiefs are like Chiefs. I guess spread record the last 8 weeks is 1-7 or something like that. They've been terrible against the spread. I mean, man, what a weird revelation Stidham was against the 49ers. I mean, that you can't write down some of the stuff that's if you wrote down some of the stuff that would happen this season and told somebody before the season started, there's a lot of stuff that people just would not believe, including Derek Carr being benched for financial reasons so they can move on from him, probably to go get Tom Brady. But then all of a sudden, Tom Brady's former backup, Jarrett Stidham, looks incredible for Josh McDaniels. So maybe he's the guy if he plays his ass off for the next 2 weeks or next week, I guess.
The third best quarterback in the AFC West somehow over Russell Wilson and Derek Carr.
Right, yeah, that's right. Jared Stidham. Yeah, I mean, my God, Russell Wilson just absolute trash. So much stuff that people would not believe. No best bet for me in this game. I would lean towards the Chiefs, but 9.5 is way too many points. Instead, I will move on to the Titans and Jaguars, as John Breach likes to say. Now 6.5. Jacksonville at home, division on the line. Winner is the winner. Winner takes down the AFC South. If the Titans win, the Jaguars can still get into the playoffs as a wild card, the 7th seed. Now, Lord only knows there could be an 8th seed apparently in the AFC, which means the Jaguars would, even with a loss, would have a very good chance of getting in. If the Jaguars lose and the Steelers lose and the Patriots lose and the Dolphins lose, the Jaguars would still get in as a wild card. I believe total here of 40, Pete.
History in this series is terrible as it relates to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I've witnessed a bunch of them. Normally, I would take the Titans in this spot. I took the Titans when they played them up in Nashville, and I was wrong. But this Titans team, as constructed, is awful. And I'm talking about the offensive line. My gosh, they're down. They have one starter from the season who's playing. It's Aaron Brewer, and he weighs about 280 pounds. The rest of them are guys, two of those guys, one of them they picked up off the street. They're bad on the offensive line. And I think that shows up here. I think Lawrence is rolling. I was an idiot. I took the Texans last week. I'm not taking Titans this week. I'm taking Jacksonville minus the points. Best bet.
I like Pete's pick. I almost made it a best bet too. My thinking was that the line could come down. It feels like the Sharps want to take the Titans here, being a well-coached team, getting healthier on both sides of the ball, particularly on the defensive side. They've been very, very, banged up on the defensive side. So if they show up with a lot stronger core, maybe they're able to hold the Jaguars offense down a little bit, keep this a lower scoring game that the Titans are able to cover. The stats for Josh Dobbs looked okay versus Dallas, but they prepared for a quarterback who can't pass. And when you go into that game thinking you're going to face Malik Willis, and then the day of, it's Josh Dobbs is the quarterback and he throws 39 passes. It's a very different situation from what you're planning for. And even in that sense, Tennessee had just one drive longer than 45 yards. So it's not like the offense was amazing. Healthier Tennessee defense earlier in the season couldn't stop Lawrence, like you're saying, in week 14. I think Jacksonville could score plenty in this game if Vrabel isn't able to scheme up anything with the healthier defense. So we'll see in that sense. I didn't put it in best bet because I thought I'd get a lower number. I still hope to get a lower number, but Pete did a good job locking in at 6, and then it moved to 6.5 now.
I'll take a best bet on 6. Jaguars minus 6. I don't mind it at 6.5. Obviously, you prefer the 6. Jackson, look, this is my Jaguars. These are my Jaguars. I picked them to win the division before the season for the website. No, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in the country that did that. Only NFL media member who did it. I can't die now. I got to ride this Jaguars team. Trevor Lawrence.
You did it to be contrarian. You didn't. Really
I did it because I thought they were going to win the division, and here they are. Because the Colts stink and the Titans stink. That's why I did it. I didn't do it to be contrarian. I did it because I believe in Duval. My brother's actually going down to this game. Randomly.
He's a Jacksonville fan?
He's a Jacksonville fan. It's weird. My grandparents are from Jacksonville. My mom's from Jacksonville. So my brother just decided to adopt the Jaguars. And as it turns out, maybe a better move than being a Panthers fan growing up.
Finally,
Vaselli asked me the other day on the radio show if how much it would take to get me up there to do in the playoffs to do Duval.
Like to go up on the game.
Yeah, you go up on the podium and do Duval. I go, there's not enough money in the world to make me do that.
Hey, can Vaselli hook up anything at the game for my brother and my cousins? They're all going?
No, not at this late hour. What do you want? What do you want? You should ask me these things like early in the week, and I might be able to help you.
Probably should ask you.
Thursday. The other consideration what makes me gave me a little bit of pause taking the Jaguars is that they only get 6 days of rest, and Tennessee gets played Thursday, so they get like 9. I mean, I don't know how that's fair. Why not?
And they didn't play their starters, so the starters get 21 days.
Why not play this game on Sunday night? At least give Jacksonville a normal week of rest before you go out and you try to win the division. So I don't know.
But that could work out to their advantage, though, in the long run, because then they'll have the extra day of rest if they play the Chargers when they play the Chargers, if they win and play the Chargers and Ravens.
Right.
Because no matter what, they will be the first game on Saturday.
There'll be normal rest there, yeah.
And since 2010, the AFC South team has played the first game all but 2 years. Last year was 1 because the Titans got a bye because they won the division. And 2004, what was the year that the Panthers were 7-8-1 and made the postseason?
2016 or 2014.
That's the only 2 years the AFC South has not played the first game since 2010. So they'll get a little bit of an advantage in terms of rest from that standpoint from who they play next week. So it kind of evens out a little bit.
Jaguars, best bet. Let's go. Let's ride Duval. Ravens at the Bengals. Bengals -7. Over under here 41.5. Again, it's pretty hard to bet this game without knowing what is going to happen with the Bengals and Bills game, because if they cancel the Bengals and Bills game, then the Bengals will have and you also have to know what the outcome of the Chiefs game is, right? Because if the Chiefs lose to the Raiders and they cancel the Bengals and the Bills game, well, then The Bills will get the 1
Chiefs-
seed if they win. Oh,
Right. The
God.
Chiefs the Bengals could not get the number 1 seed if they cancel the Bills-Bengals game. The best they can get to is number 2,
Okay.
if it works out for them, but they can't pass the Bengals in that sense.
Yeah, they would be
the
number
Chiefs
2.
in that sense.
They could get to number 2. What if they win
And the Chiefs lose?
If that game's canceled and then the Chiefs lose or the Bills lose.
But I also think it's possible that we see
1.
if they cancel the Bengals and Bills game and the Bengals therefore win the division, like guaranteed to win the division going into this game. One, that this line is going to come down because I think you're going to see a less motivated Cincinnati team. And I also think it's possible there was some rumor or apparently Bengals players had even discussed maybe not playing this week. Like some of them. I think there's a chance you see some guys who just need a week off or shook, and that's fine, man.
But now you go 3 weeks without playing.
It's a really weird situation. I don't know. I don't think there's any good answer.
It's a hard game. I didn't want to lay 7, but I'll lay. I took the Bengals in a teaser, even if they do risk some guys, because I think this Ravens offense is awful right now, the way it is. And so I think they'll hang around and maybe even win it. But so I'm gonna take Bengals as part of the teaser -1.
And then this game could have repercussions for the Chargers game, which had a big swing, which we'll talk about later. But it seems like if the Ravens lose this game, the Chargers are locked in and they don't have to play starters. So that line swung there. But if the Bengals don't feel like they need to go all out in this game and the Ravens win it, then all of a sudden the Chargers game is back into play. So very weird situation there happening. Baltimore's offense has a low ceiling if Lamar isn't playing as we expect again. But coaching and defense can be bad teams since he is one of the best teams in the league if they're trying. I think they can definitely score enough to cover here. Their offense is built around the pass game where the Baltimore defense is the weakest, and Cincy's defense typically strong against the run, so that's a bad matchup for the Baltimore offense. Also worried about the AFC North factor, playing low-scoring AFC North games, but I think it's key to know what's going to happen with that Cincy Bills game before you do anything with this one.
Yep, agree completely. I don't have a best bet on this. You have to know. You have to know. Are they playing for the division here or are they not? Because if they are, then maybe you lay the 7. If not, it's just a tough game to back. Jets -1 at the Dolphins, over under 38.5. Gross, Pete, but this game matters for the playoffs.
It does matter for the playoffs, and it's almost looks like it's going to be Skylar Thompson. I mean,
or Mike Glennon.
Come on. Why would you play Mike Glennon?
Daniel said about Mike Glennon. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
What do you like about Mike Glennon? He's like, his name, we're built the same, look about the same.
By the way, did you see the report from Armando Salguero that said that Mike McDaniel could be in trouble?
For what?
If he doesn't win? That would be crazy.
That would be real crazy.
That'd be crazy. But I think Miami finds a way to win this game. It's one thing to knock off your rival, like everybody's talking about the Jets, but it's another thing to play to get in. I think they can make it easy on whoever plays quarterback, get the ball to those playmakers, and run the ball. The Jets haven't been great against the run. Their defense is really good, but they're not great against the run. So I think Miami will find a way to win this game and cover. I'll take him as part of the teaser, another teaser. The teaser with the Bengals, I'll close it out. +7. I'll take +7 with Miami.
Yeah, I kind of want to back Miami too. I think this line might go up a little bit more once it is confirmed that Skylar Thompson is playing. So I'm going to wait for that and hopefully get +2.5 for the Dolphins. And if I want to tease, maybe tease at that point. But I think the Dolphins might be the right play. It's a tough spot for the Jets. Travel cross country to Seattle, lose, get eliminated from the playoffs, travel home, travel back to, then travel to Miami for this game that you're probably not completely 100% invested in because it's not going to help you make the playoffs because you're out. Even the Jets defense struggled versus Seattle. It wasn't just the offense struggling. All but 2 Seattle drives ended in Jets territory. Maybe it's just a bad matchup for the Jets because Seattle and Pete Carroll there, but I don't know if they get up for this one. So yeah, if Thompson is ruled the starter and it goes up 2.5, we also have to look at the rest of the injuries Miami's dealing with. I believe Terran Armstead still a factor. Bradley Chubb missing practice, so we'll see if those guys can play. But I agree with Pete; they can run the ball. They can still do a little bit in the passing game with their weapons. And if the Jets' hearts aren't in it, I think the Dolphins win this one at home.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, and I think you do need to wait for the quarterback situation. No best bet for me there. I am going to set you up for this best bet, Pete, and jump out very quickly. I think. I'm worried the audio thing might be coming from my fault, and I'll be right back. But the next game on the list, Browns at Steelers. Steelers -2.5, over under of 40. BRB.
Yeah, look, I liked what I saw from Pickett in that final drive, but they ran the ball well against the Ravens, and their defense played well. So, and they still alive. But I'm going to take the Browns in the teaser. I think the Browns have been better on defense recently, and they haven't played good offenses, but this isn't a good offense either. And I think Deshaun Watson was a little bit better last week. I think they're going to play well here. They hate these teams, hate each other, and they hate the Steelers. They'd love to knock them out of the playoffs. I know motivation's on the side of the Steelers, but I'm going to tease the Browns up and take 8.5 in a teaser.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good look. These AFC North teams are playing these low-scoring, close games. So I think you're spot on that it's probably going to stay within 8 either way. So it's good to have them in the teaser. I made it a best bet on Pittsburgh -2.5. Both these teams, and not just because of the motivation factor, both these teams want to run the ball. Pittsburgh's defense 4th in rush yards per play, while Cleveland's defense is 25th. Pittsburgh is typically a little worse against the pass, but then they got TJ Watt back, and their pass defense has all of a sudden gotten better. Surprise, surprise, when you can rush the passer, your pass defense is going to play a little bit better. So Pittsburgh's second in interception rate, even with their yards per play number being down against the pass. So I think they can make Deshaun Watson pay for his mistakes. Cleveland's win since Watson took over. You said, they haven't played anybody. Well, they played Kyle Allen at quarterback, Tyler Huntley, and Carson Wentz. I mean, that's about as bad as you can get in terms of your wins. Pittsburgh's defense, three straight games under 250 yards. Won all 3 of those games. They've had 6 straight under 310 yards allowed. They're 5-1 in those games. Defense is playing really well at this point. Cleveland's offense is not dynamic enough for me to think that they're going to score a ton of points here. Cleveland is motivated, avoid the 10-loss season, match last year's record, even with the having to play a backup quarterback for most of the year, and then maybe knock the Steelers out of the playoffs. So I'm not going to question Cleveland's motivation in this game. If Pickett could play well for 4 quarters, I mean, Pittsburgh would be a dangerous playoff team considering the defense they have and their ability to run the ball. But it just seems to only come on like with half of the 4th quarter left, and all of a sudden he can go out and win a game. So if we can get a 4-quarter game from Pickett in this game, I think the Steelers could win by a decent margin. And even if we can, I think they can win by 3.
That was good timing, wasn't it?
I was stretching.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to move a bunch of cords around. We'll see if it happens. Pete, you sound like a robot. You sound like a robot. I was trying to help you out here.
Well, it wasn't me, was it? It was you.
Well, maybe it was, but we'll find out.
Do I sound like a robot now? Do I sound like a robot now?
No, it was coming in and out, but it's happening to RJ too, so that made me think it's probably me. Sometimes my roadcaster, it's a long story. Nobody cares about it. I got nothing here. Browns is I think the Steelers making the playoffs is fun as hell. Like that idea, I like that idea. Like the idea of like Mike Tomlin, just another winning season, Steelers make the playoffs.
Who would be the 8th team if
I'll take the Steelers as the best bet. Why is it only 2.5?
Who would be the 8th team if we play that out? Let's just say if Miami wins, they're the 7. And if New England loses to Buffalo, which we think will happen.
Let's pick so all right, we're gonna say Chiefs win, Jaguars win, Bills beat the Patriots, right? Or yeah. Patriots. You want to give okay. Bengals win, Colts, Texans, doesn't matter. Jets or Dolphins.
Miami wins. Miami
wins.
So Miami's the
7. So it would
7.
probably be the Steelers if they win. Steelers
Miami
would
be the 7, and then
Pittsburgh would be 8, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Huh? Wouldn't that be wild? What if Kenny Pickett Kenny Pickett won a Super Bowl as the 8th seed? The only year that an 8th seed ever happened.
In that scenario, if they added the 8th seed, then Pittsburgh would go play Kansas City.
That's not me. You just went robot again. It's you. You and your AirPods. That's where we're gonna get smoked by Kansas City. All right, I'll take the Steelers as the best bet. Give me Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's playing hot right now. Next up, the Panthers at the Saints. Saints -3.5. Looks like it's actually going to move towards 3 potentially. Panthers +3 -1, 3.5 -120 on Caesars over under 42 here, Pete.
Yeah, I'm taking the Saints as the best bet. I like what their defense, and they're not playing great quarterbacks either, but I like what their defense is doing. They had 6 sacks last week, got after the quarterback. And Carolina, they had that game. They blew it. And now they're just done. They're finished. They're pitching for their coach, which I doubt is going to happen. And so I think the Saints at home with that defense, the way it's playing, will be able to limit what the Panthers do. I'll take the Saints as the best bet.
You believe that Harbaugh would go to Carolina?
No, I've heard that that's coming from Harbaugh's camp.
In order to drive up his interest in other teams? Or other teams?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think Carolina almost certain to have a new coach, new quarterback. It's going to be harder for them to get up for this game than New Orleans. New Orleans could close with 4 straight wins, finish just 1 game behind last year where they had Sean Payton. They could avoid a 10-loss season, finish 8-9. All that feels kind of important for motivation on their end. But both teams eliminated last week, so it's hard to gauge exactly who's going to show up for this game. Carolina torched by Tampa Bay's pass game with Horn out, and New Orleans is 6th in pass yards per play. So I think New Orleans could get it done here. I'm not surprised people don't want to lay it with the hook with New Orleans, considering these teams have questionable motivation on both sides. But if it gets to 3, I'm probably gonna like New Orleans.
If there was an 8th seed in the AFC, would they have to do an 8th seed in the NFC? Right, they would, right?
Why?
Yeah, which is why I don't think it's going to happen.
It would be insanely advantageous for the number 1 seed in the NFC if you went to 8 seeds in the AFC. Like one team just gets an extra week of rest in the playoffs.
But if you're getting, I mean, by the time you play that team in the Super Bowl on the AFC side, you're getting an extra week of rest. I mean, you're getting the rest too before the Super Bowl because you're not resetting the playoff schedule.
Oh, in the 8th seed. Oh, yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true. All right. This is just something else. Just play the game. Or don't play the game, whatever. Commanders. I got no best bet here. Don't want to mess with this. Panthers. What a train wreck. They had that game won. They had that division won. Just rotate a safety over to Mike Evans, guys. Like, it's not that hard. Commanders. Cowboys -7 at Commanders. Over under 41 here, Pete.
By the way, I had the Panthers as one of my picks, one of my best bets, and it was my best bet for the week when we do this picks show. And I sat there and I said, he's going to turn it over here, sure as I'm sitting here. And the very first play he got hit, Sam Darnold turned it over and led the points.
Indeed.
So, bad one. Yeah, look, I look at this game and Sam Howell's starting, and I like Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell should have been playing a lot sooner, but they thought they had I don't know what they did with Carson Wentz. But I think the Cowboys' defensive line will get all over Sam Howell in this game. That offensive line in Washington has been awful lately, and I think that's going to be an issue. So I'll lay the 7 with the Cowboys. I think they cover this number, and it's all because their defensive front gets after Sam Howell and causes some turnovers in short field.
Yeah, their defense was kind of banged up for that Tennessee game. We'll see how healthy they are coming into here. I mean, I thought they would play better in that Tennessee game considering the opponent. It's hard to have faith in Ron Rivera after starting Wentz and then that playoff question debacle. So I don't know what we're going to see with this team. Dallas trying to win the division, playing on extra rest, and Washington has no home field advantage. I should like Cowboys here. I think the Washington offense could look a little different with Howell's mobility. So I don't know. The Dallas defense knows that they're playing him, but they don't have really much tape to go with, as opposed to last week where they didn't know who they were playing. You know, they switched the quarterbacks on them the day of. So no point. Dallas doesn't get any extra points for winning a blowout here. So maybe if they're up big, they might get the chance to rest some players in the second half and Washington backdoor cover. I would lean to Washington +7. It looks like the line wants to go down a little bit. But if it gets to 6.5, I don't want to touch Washington. I might even look the Cowboys at that point.
So I'm going to roll with what I call the Zeke corollary here. Shout out to my good friend Zeke Honeycutt, godfather to my son. I'm godfather to his son. Best friends for a long time. Zeke, an NC State fan, is firmly of the belief that Sam Howell is going to come to this game, going to play unbelievably well, and end up becoming the biggest sports star in D.C., where Zeke lives and where he has to live with. Sam Howell went to Carolina, so I will take the Commanders +7 as the best bet out of the Zeke principle, and because like I think Sam Howell's going to be awesome. I think Sam Howell's going to be good in this game.
I think Sam Howell's going to end up being a good quarterback.
I do too. Right. He's a good. I can't believe he fell as far as he did. Like the Panthers are idiots for not taking him instead of Matt Corral, but that's neither here nor there. They traded.
I think maybe the worst thing for Washington is if he looks really good in this game, and then they think they have their quarterback, and they don't bring in, they don't prioritize the quarterback position.
Derek Carr in the offseason. Yeah.
Here's one I can't figure out. Did Taylor Heineke really say to start Sam Howell? Did he? Did you read that?
No. He's like, don't.
I read that. Play Sam Howell.
Well, I mean, maybe he wants to give the kid some run.
What the hell? You got to play as much as you can. That can't be real, right? I mean, you did not see that? Did you guys not see that?
I didn't see that.
Somebody had a report that he said let him play Sam Howell, and I can't imagine that's true. I tried to
wonder
find
if he
other
has a a bonus clause in his contract that says if I get sacked less than 20 times this season, I get X amount of money, and he's at like 17, and he's like, yeah, play Sam Howell. I don't want to face this Dallas.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Let's see. Here's the report. Wait. Heineke told the coaches it should be rookie Sam Howell instead, as Heineke felt that Howell was deserving of playing a full game.
What the hell was he doing? What in the hell are you doing?
Heineke, who had received indications that he was in line to start, believed Howell was deserving of a full game and relayed that to coaches.
What is he doing?
Wow.
I mean,
he must be very confident.
Ron Rivera was like, it was like reported. It was like, it's going to be Heineke starting. Then Ron Rivera was like, out of nowhere, it was like, we're starting Sam Howell.
But what if you're Taylor Heineke? Why would you not want to play? It's
So
not like
Pete,
you're
double-
a 14-year veteran who's got all this tape and you're proved to everybody that you can be the starting quarterback for him. Go play.
Right. But so to my earlier point, like I hope they don't get completely sold on Sam Howell at this game and not bring in competition. Maybe Taylor Heineke is like, listen, if he has a great game, maybe they go into the next season with just me and Howell, and I have a lot better chance winning the starting job versus a Sam Howell than a Derek Carr or somebody else they would bring in.
I want to play. That's a bad sign for Heineke. I don't get it.
Maybe Taylor Heineke doesn't want to play Micah Parsons.
Would you ever do that? I would never do that. Never.
No, we know you wouldn't.
You wouldn't either.
I'm a good teammate. I might.
Yeah, let me see. I haven't started many games in my NFL career, but you know what? I'll give one up to let a kid play. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The dumbest thing. I've been around this league a long time.
You think it's the single dumbest thing you've ever heard in covering the NFL?
Maybe do you not want to play?
Maybe Sam Howell makes him the presenter at his Hall of Fame speech.
By the way, DeMar, just it's 1:40 p.m. on Thursday, but the University of Cincinnati is giving an update. The University of Cincinnati Hospital is giving an update on DeMar Hamlin. This is from Dr. Timothy Pritz. He's made substantial improvement. It appears his neurological condition and function is intact. We are very proud to report that. This marks a really good turning point in his ongoing care. So anyway, yes. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, more football games to talk about. Okie doke. Moving along. If I can find my place in the rundown, I am hopped up on. There we go. Giants and Eagles. Eagles minus 14. Again, I don't think we know. It's hard to pick here because you don't really know what's going on with Jalen Hurts. Limited at practice. Seems like he's possibly could play. They need to win. It's a must-win game. Brian Daboll said he's not going to rest his guys in this game for the Giants, which is kind of surprising, Pete.
Well, he's changed his mind on that about 3 different times this week, hasn't he?
Yeah, he said that early in the week, and then I believe the last thing was like, we'll evaluate, we'll figure it out on Friday, essentially. So it's that people are thinking he might, but the line didn't move. I think the line anticipates they're sitting guys the whole time.
Look, if Minshew plays, I take the Giants all day at 14. If because he's bad. If Jalen Hurts plays, depending on what is he? I mean, can he run? I know he has a shoulder injury. Will he run? I mean, that's concerning. Do you want to put him in a situation where he's got to run before the postseason? I mean, so I'd take the Giants if I had to pick it at 14. I'm not making it the best bet or anything, but I'll take the Giants.
I am making it a best bet. Giants plus 14. Giants, I figure they do rest some starters, but they still will play to win on game day, and they have a very good coach in Brian Daboll who knows how to compete in these games anyway with not as good talent as some of the other teams he's played. And Tyrod Taylor is a capable veteran backup. He might be better than Minshew if we do get Minshew in this game. So I might get the better quarterback in the game plus 14. Alternative is to play Jalen Hurts, which it seems like it's a possibility, but he's well below 100%, and that makes it hard to cover a big number when your quarterback is playing well less than 100%. And 3 of the last 4 winning teams that were 10-plus point underdogs in the final week covered. So Giants a winning team, but a huge underdog because of the circumstances. That's not a huge trend or anything, but it just says don't write off a team in this situation that has a winning record just because that they're playing, that they might rest some starters. And then the Giants talk about, well, will they even rest starters? Giants once won the Super Bowl famously as a wild card after not resting starters against the 15-0 Pats. So if there's any organizational thing from the top that might say, well, we love that situation, let's do that again. I don't know if any of that gets put on Dayball, but it just seems like there's very few situations when you look at all the situations that could happen in this game where I would like having the Eagles minus 14, and then several I would love having the Giants. So I'm going to make Giants plus 14 a best bet.
Don't blame you. It's hard. 14 is a ton of points. We've seen a lot of times in these spots where the team that is supposed to lay down and do nothing is, the motivated team that needs to win, has a hard time covering. 14 is a lot of points. Like, I don't blame you. Not a best bet for me, but I would lean towards the Giants as well. Vikings at the Bears. Bears minus 7.5. Over under 43. Pete.
Look, the Bears are,
the Bears. Vikings are minus 7.5
Yeah, the Bears are starting Nathan Peterman. I mean, that's not good. Their defense has been terrible. That's not good. The Vikings are coming off a horrible loss, so I think they get refocused here. And I think that they play better on offense and show up in a big way. So I'll lay the 7.5. I don't love it. It's not a best bet, but I would take the Vikings minus the 7.5.
Vikings probably stuck at the 3 seed, though. Incentive to go in the playoffs on a positive note after that ugly game last week. I don't know that we can still trust the starters to play a full game and risk injury going into next week. So I think they might do some resting in the second half, and I wouldn't want to lay this many points with a team that hasn't been that good on the whole, going on the road, even against a team that's not motivated. Line went up from -1 to -8 with Peterman announced a starter. So, I might look to the over. I still think the Minnesota defense, with how it's played, could give up some points to Peterman. But there's also potential for Peterman turnovers if he plays very poorly, giving short field to the Vikings to help them cover an over. So if I'm going to play this game, I would look to the over.
Here's the other thing: do you want the 2 seed? Would you rather would you rather be the 3 seed? Would you rather play the Giants or would you rather play the Packers if they get in?
I'd rather play the Giants.
Yeah.
So you'd rather be the 3 seed.
You'd rather be the 3 seed.
Yeah.
And then go on the road to San Francisco.
The only problem is you'd have to play your second game on the road.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
They've had a solid home field advantage in their history in that stadium. I would want to play as many games as possible.
Minnesota would rather be the 2. They'd rather have the 2 seed than just worry about because you can't really control who's coming in. You don't know who's going to get you might get the 2 seed and then you get the Lions at home, which I think or the Seahawks.
Well, to be Seattle, okay, you get the 2 seed, you get Seattle, Green Bay, or the Lions.
I'd rather take my chances I'd rather max out my home field advantage and take my chances that I get an easier matchup than Aaron Rodgers at home.
Is the point to win a playoff game or to win the Super Bowl? Is the question.
Yeah. Super Bowl.
Well, I don't think that team's winning a Super Bowl.
Well, of course not. But would they be the worst team to ever won a Super Bowl that we've seen? I'd say probably not.
No.
Not with that offense.
Who's the worst team to win a Super Bowl?
I think the second Giants time they had a negative point differential. So it wasn't 19, but it was like -2 or 3. So.
Oh yeah, I guess the team was -19. We shouldn't crap on the Vikings. We do that enough on this podcast, apparently. Anyway, Bucs at the Falcons. Falcons -4 over under a 40. Buccaneers are locked into the 4 seed. A lot of 4s. Numerical correlation here. Pete, thoughts? It's whatever.
How are the Bucs playing it? They haven't even really. He says he's playing guys, but how long are they going to play? And
you can't put Tom Brady out there and have him get hit.
The line tells you they're not going to play very long. They wouldn't.
That's what
be
it
4-point
says.
dogs.
That's what it says. But you never know. And here's the other thing: they showed something last week. Do they want to keep rolling on that a little bit and then get them out? How do you? It's hard to evaluate this game. So I would probably, if I had to, I'd probably take the Falcons. But I'm not picking one way or the other as the best bet.
Tampa Bay's offense finally came alive against the Panthers defense down J.C. Horn. If they're going to be playing the backups the majority of this game, I don't know that I trust the Tampa Bay coaching staff to mastermind a win, especially if Brady's not out there. Atlanta's offensive rookies looking to finish strong. Ritter trying to stay in the quarterback mix going into next year. Atlanta can match last year's 7-10 record after moving on from their franchise quarterback of however many years. I think that'd be a very big accomplishment for them. But the problem with this game is teams with losing records favored against playoff teams in the 16th game or later, which typically is the last game of the season and there haven't been any situations where you include last year, this year, this situation. It's obviously playoff teams sitting players. Those teams with those losing records are 8-16 against the spread all time. They just don't cover the numbers when people expect them to do it. So which tends to say you can't bench everyone. If you're going to rest starters, you only have 53 players. So how are you going to bench everyone? And the backups and the coaching staff's going to carry some of these games. So I would lean to the Bucs at +4. But if we get a sense that Brady's not going to play at all, or maybe one series and the line goes up, I would think I would really like the Bucs.
You would like the Falcons, you mean?
No, the Bucs.
Oh, the Bucs.
Because the situation of losing teams and not covering most of the time against playoff teams in this last week.
Gotcha. All right. I got nothing on this one. I mean, look, I guess I don't know. If they're playing Brady, I'll take the 4 points. If not, I mean, again, the line probably tells you what the situation is. Texans at the Colts. Colts -2.5 over under 38. The Texans can clinch. By the way, it looks like it's going to move to 3. Texans can clinch the number 1 seed here, Pete, with a loss. However, Lovie Smith may be inclined to say, F you, boss man. You fire me anyway. I'm out of here.
Well, and the Colts, they've cheated us out of another opportunity to see the greatest accident in the history of mankind. I mean, that Nick Foles, please, I wanted to see him again. He's not playing. I wanted to see. He's the worst. It's the greatest accident of all time, him winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, Nick Foles.
And
yeah.
last week, bad, then got hit, out, and get Sam Ellinger back. But I think the Colts are going to win this game because I don't think the Texans, they prefer to lose. I don't care. You can't tell players to lose the game, but the organization prefers to lose. They're not going to. I mean, they're going to get a quarterback. If the Bears have the number one pick, they're not taking a quarterback, but that would open it up to somebody to go up to get the quarterback. And so I think they want to ensure they have their pick of the quarterbacks. I think the Colts win and cover.
Yeah, I can't lay points with the Colts, with this Colts team that we've seen the last several weeks, most of the season actually. So, but I don't want to play the Houston either, even though they competed hard down the stretch and they got blown out last week. And you're right, they should it would be best for them to lose this game. So I think pressure is on Jeff Saturday to win his final game for any shot at staying coach at this point. But I don't think he's going to be the guy anyway. But Sam Ellinger,
Kayvon Thibodeau doesn't even know who he is.
Sam Ellinger, and that's dumb on Thibodeau's sense. Saturday's on way more as an NFL player than Thibodeau has at this point. But how can Ellinger be laying points even at home? I couldn't do it. So it looks like a good teaser leg at +2.5, but you can't tease bad teams either, because what if Houston just doesn't show up and Indy has Ellinger throw 10 passes and wins the game by 10 anyway? So I'm just going to pass on it.
Yeah, it's a week 18 special where you were gambling on motivation, and unless you know for sure what Lovie Smith is going to do with this, because I don't think Lovie's not going to tank the game, but the Colts just might be more motivated, might be better. Like these, you just can't bet on it. If you have to pick it, I'd go Colts. I'd take the Colts if I had to pick it, but that's it. Cardinals at the 49ers. Niners -14.5. Oh, sorry, I skipped over the Bills. We'll do Bills, whatever. Bills -7, hosting the Patriots. Over under 42.5.
How do you handicap this game? We have no idea how they are as a team. You have no idea what they are as. If
the Bills Cincy game is called no contest, can Buffalo will know if they can get the 1 seed or not coming into this game?
Correct.
Because if the Chiefs win, the Chiefs will clinch the 1 seed.
Correct.
Right.
That's what I mean. How can you handicap this game? We also don't know the mental state of the team as a team after what they're dealing with all week. So I think the game, but I don't know if they cover 7 points. So it's a hard game to pick. I pass.
Yeah, in a perfect situation, I make
brutal.
In a perfect situation, I make the Bills -11 if we didn't have any concern about mental state or motivation for seeds, whatever. Just based on power ratings and home field, I would make it Bills -11. But you can't play them at 7 thinking the line should be 11 because you just don't know the situation around the game. Like you're saying, Buffalo won 24-10 at Foxborough beginning in December, won that game pretty decisively. I think this is a bad matchup for New England if Buffalo is on top of their game and motivated. So we'll see how the situation looks on Sunday morning, and then maybe play the Bills at that point. Or if the Bills don't have a reason to win the game, the Bengals game gets canceled, the Chiefs win, this line's going to crash anyway, and we're not going to be looking really to play the Bills, I don't think.
Yep, that's right. I mean, you can't. If you think the Chiefs are going, if you think the game is going to be called no contest, and you believe the Chiefs will beat the Raiders on Saturday, you could take New England right now at +7, and that's not a terrible bet. But you're also betting against. Like, you're also betting against like the Bills, who may want to come out and like prove something, may want to get on the field and like play a game before they have to play a playoff game. These guys went through a pretty traumatic event, and we just don't know what the hell's going to happen, because they may say, look, we don't want to be on the field, we don't want to play, we need another week off. You also may say, look, we still want to win a Super Bowl. Damar Hamlin is up, is responsive. He looks like he's doing much better. We know all that.
I think if they said that they were going to say they weren't going to play this week, they would have done it before Wednesday practice. Because once you practice on Wednesday, I think you're committed to playing the week.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
So the move here would be then to, if they do declare that they're not playing the Bengals game, to play a money line parlay between the Chiefs and the Patriots, because you're going to get better value on the Patriots at +7 if you can lock that in before it moves. And presumably it wouldn't move until we know the Chiefs result. So you could play that, or you could play the Raiders money line parlay with the Bills, those type of things. So you'll get a better sense of correlating what happens in that Chiefs game with the Patriots Bills game and make your plays that way.
Yep, that works. All right, final game, Cardinals at the 49ers. Niners -14.5 for our purposes, now down to 14 on Caesars. Over under 40.5. Who's starting for the Cardinals in this game?
David Blau.
Who actually played okay last week.
I love David Blau. Because I get yelled at.
I'll take the Niners. I mean, I hate 14, but their defense is going to come out.
They got embarrassed.
They were bad last week, and they're not a bad defense. They just had a bad day. All over the Cardinals, who were playing for nothing. I'll take the 49ers minus the 14. I don't love it, big number, but I would lean that way.
Yeah, I would have liked to play Arizona's team total under based on what you're saying. It was 12.5. I wanted it to be 13.5. 12.5 is just a little too low for me. Arizona's offense wasn't bad versus Atlanta. Now Connor's banged up. So we'll see if San Francisco defense bounces back. I expect them to. McCaffrey was dinged up in that game. How much does he play here? San Francisco gunning for the number 1 seed, Arizona heading into the offseason, a change. I don't think there's any way you back Arizona, really. I think they have trouble scoring. But San Francisco could go conservative in second half, sit McCaffrey a bit, and that would keep the total game under. So I would lean to the under at 40.5. And if you can get Arizona team total at 13.5 at some point, I would play that under.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I would lean towards the 49ers but yeah, I mean, they're still motivated to go try and get that 2 seed as well. Or even can they steal the 1 seed if Philly loses? Yeah. They're going to come out and play. So I would lean towards the 49ers. RJ is probably onto something with that under. You could see them run a ton. You could see a lot of Tyrion Davis Price here if they get a big lead. All right, Pete's best bets.
You got a few games left.
Oh, did I just miss games?
Rams, Seahawks.
Oh my God, I completely missed games. What happened? What is wrong with me?
Rams, Seahawks. I'd take the Seahawks and lay the points.
It's minus 6.5. Totals 41.5, and you like the Seahawks?
Rams are motivated for nothing.
Oh yeah, there's 3 games left. I'm sorry.
I take the Seahawks. We're just going really slow today. That's all, Brinson. You're slow today.
It's the cold. Usually the cold meds get me going, but I don't know, man.
I mean, it's almost 2:00. Let's go.
We're
under an hour at 52 minutes. Relax.
It's now down to 6. I was leaning toward the Rams anyway, plus 6.5 at 6. It looks like that's where the market's moving. Rams solid offensively in the first half against the Chargers. Their defense could not get any stops. Seattle's offense hadn't been playing too well before last week. We'll see if they're fully back there. Their defense suffered a big loss with Jordan Brooks' injury, and that's something the Rams might be able to exploit with the run game getting going in recent weeks. I don't like laying a bunch of points with Seattle really ever, and I don't see the Rams quitting, so I would be on the Rams side here. And another correlation thing, which we'll talk about in the Lions-Packers game a little bit with this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the Rams, sure, whatever. I mean, yeah, I think Baker Mayfield's look pretty good for them. And the Seahawks have not been the same without Tyler Lockett. If he came back, I think Geno would have a big game. But Rams have been fighting despite that. 6 seems like a bit much for a Seahawks team that doesn't have much from a defensive standpoint. Chargers at the Broncos. Broncos -2, down to 1.5. Over under 40. Pete.
Look, the Chargers. The number says the Chargers aren't playing guys. That's what that number says. And
and Justin Herbert got added to the injury report too, I believe, on Wednesday.
Yeah, I would
imagine
they're gonna rest guys, and so I think that's why that number reflects it. I think I like the Broncos at the game. I would take the Broncos minus that little short number.
Yeah, this was Chargers -3, and then the NFL announced, because if you remember when they announced the Week 18 schedule, they put that Ravens-Bengals game as a to be determined, but based on what happened in the Bills-Bengals game. And then, of course, the Bills-Bengals game, now we still don't even know what's going to happen. So they had to make a decision when to play that game, and they flipped a coin, I guess, and decided 1 o'clock. And that affects the Chargers here, because if the Ravens lose to the Bengals, which was what kind of people expect, then the Chargers are locked into the 5 seed and can't move, and they can rest everybody. So that's kind of why this line, people hammered the Broncos after that announcement came out, and now it's got all the way down to -2. It's back to 1.5 now. Denver played tough after the coach firing. We'll see if they show up here. I know Russ probably wants to close the season on a positive note.
Yep.
The play here is another correlated play. You money line parlay the Baltimore and then the Chargers, because if Baltimore wins, then the Chargers show up. You get that around probably plus 650. Or the more likely scenario, you money line parlay Cincinnati and Denver. If Cincinnati wins, then the Chargers rest everyone, and then you can get that, I think, around plus 130. So that would be the play to make there.
Yeah, and look, Brandon Staley has been, in his entire tenure as Chargers coach, a huge rest guy. Like, he doesn't play anybody in the preseason at all. And if you're looking at it, you're like, all right, we'd rather be the 5 seed than the 6 seed, obviously. But at the same time, we'd like to get this. We could get a week of rest before the postseason, and you can
Well,
get.
you're not going to get a week of rest. You're going to get, because you're going to play on Saturday. Because I think no matter who it is, if it's Tennessee or Jacksonville, they're going to be the first game. So they'll play
So, but if you think you're going to be that Saturday game, yeah, I think I would probably lean towards Denver here and expect some rest. Sunday Night Football. The NFL has cast aside competitive balance in favor of ratings to push the Lions. The Seahawks, understandably, are pissed because they think the Lions and the Packers should be playing at the same time as they are. They should be, but the NFL likes ratings. They like Aaron Rodgers. They want him in the playoffs.
Or Jacksonville could be playing in that spot, since they would have.
Yeah, why not?
Titans had the extra days.
Yep.
Why not flip them to Saturday and night and Sunday? You still get the Packers Lions on Saturday night, and then they're both trying hard, and Seattle has to try hard anyway.
Right.
So I mean,
it's because the NFL wants ratings. That's all. It's BS. It's really like, it shouldn't. I guess it shouldn't bother. I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm not like. I mean, it's just like so typical of them, because like the integrity of the game.
It's not them. It's the network. The network makes the decision.
Right. Somebody on radio asked me yesterday if they were like, what would CBS pick if they had the choice? I was like, well, Rodgers, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to take Rodgers here.
Yeah.
I just think I'm not going to make it a best bet, but I think he's got that little look in his eye. The team is playing better. They're getting special teams plays. They're getting big plays on defense. They still have run defense issues, but they're healthy on the offensive line. Bakhtiari's back. Jenkins is playing left guard again where he should be playing. They're healthy on the offensive line. I think that matters. I'll take the Packers minus the points.
They're playing a good Detroit defensive line that we've seen. They've been solid throughout the season, and I like the Detroit offensive line against the Packers front too. Even with Green Bay's elite home field advantage, this line saying Green Bay is better than Detroit. I'm not so sure they are. That Minnesota game notwithstanding, it turned on an improbable goal line stop, kickoff touchdown, interception, touchdown run, and the Green Bay offense didn't have to do much to be ahead in that game by double digits. So I don't think Green Bay is as good as they seem coming out of that game. Green Bay did dominate the first meeting between these teams in stats, but bad turnovers cost them the game, and those failing to punch it in at the 1 yard line several times cost them that win. I think both teams score, even with Jared Goff playing outdoors. I think Detroit's be able to score here. So I think they could backdoor. I think it's too many points for Green Bay to lay. I would lean Detroit plus 4.5, but then you get the motivation factor. Do they show up for this game 30 minutes after they get eliminated, if that's the case? So the correlated parlay there is Seattle's money line against the Green Bay against the spread right now, because that line's going to go up if Seattle wins, or the Rams money line against the Detroit against the spread. And I kind of like that one, because I think the Rams maybe have a sneaky good chance of winning that game.
I love the Packers here. Packers best bet for me. Rodgers, I've been riding the Packers the past few weeks. Rodgers is getting to the playoffs. Like he cut his freaking hair. He's got the look in his eye. He's been trashing the Lions for like 3 weeks. He knows the only thing in between him and a playoff berth that no one thought was possible until we wrote off this whole season and called him washed and said that Devontae Adams is the reason that he had success, and now without him he can't win. Is the freaking Lions at home.
Here's the other thing. 2 weeks ago, the Lions gave up over 300 yards rushing, and the Green Bay Packers can't run the ball. That's a little concerning.
Yeah, they're going to pound the ball. They're going to pound the Lions. I feel bad because I want Dan Campbell to the playoffs too, but it ain't happening. Rodgers, best bet. That's 4.5. All right, here are the best bets. That's all the games, right?
Yeah.
That's all the games.
Even if
Pete's
it wasn't, I'd say it was.
What?
Even if it wasn't, I'd say it was.
Yeah, unless you want to try to pick Bills Bengals and just
look at that smallish card under RJ's name.
It's just you don't know what's going on with these games.
You're hedging. I
am not hedging.
You're sandbagging.
Billy, you can fill mine in. I got him in there. You see? Oh yeah, nice job. Wait, Billy, I got one more. Oh, yeah, 4. That's 4. Pete has the Saints -3.5, the Jaguars -6, 2 teasers. Browns +8.5, Cowboys -1, Dolphins +7, Bengals -1, Chiefs Raiders over 52.5 on Saturday. RJ just 3 bets. Raiders +9.5, Pittsburgh -2.5, Giants +14, and then I have 4 bets. Jaguars -6, Steelers -2.5, Commanders +7, the Zeke special, and the Packers -4.5. Isn't there a revenge angle that I'm missing? There's a big revenge angle that I'm missing. I can't remember what it is. Oh well. Revenge game is hot right now.
I mean, it's the second divisional game for every single matchup, so everybody's getting revenge.
That's right. Somebody's out for revenge. I'll tell you that much. There's a murder mystery taking place. Okay, that'll do it for us. Week 18. We'll be back for the playoffs, of course, to give you best bets. Awesome work this season. You guys are guaranteed to finish above 500, right?
Yeah.
And I think my record, I'm actually one game below 500. So let's see.
We're not picking the playoffs.
We're not picking the playoffs.
Is that what you just said?
Well, we'll probably just reset.
We can still go below. We can still go below 500.
No, we'll reset for the playoffs.
No, play it.
Yeah. Remember last year when you were chasing me and you're like, "We're resetting for the playoffs." Now you're like, "No, we don't reset for the playoffs." What's good for me is good for me.
Well, if I would have known RJ was only going to pick 3 games, I might have picked more.
Well, I've picked 1 more than you on the season up to this point, and you picked 2 more than me this week. So now you've picked 1 more than me. Congratulations! You're doing a fantastic job picking way more games this year.
But last week we were even, and you picked a bunch of games, and this week you only picked 3. So
it's a hard week to find games to pick.
It is a tough week.
Yeah,
I just did it for the purposes of the show. I mean, you guys. You don't pick any games. Pick some damn games, RJ.
Well, you're teasing stuff, and I just can't be confident in teasers this week. I didn't even put out.
What was your teasers about 2 weeks ago? You were the teaser king.
Yeah, but it's you just have motivation. I can't tease the Texans up through 8.5 to 8.5 because who knows if they show up. It's just these teams you just don't know who shows up. Even the Browns, like you're teasing the Browns.
I'm gonna put the whammy on your games. You're going 0-3 this week.
Don't you put that evil on me.
All right, nice little voodoo curse.
The only thing is I like the Giants this week.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Pete, for RJ, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.
Later.